Hi everybody, welcome to this episode of Enlightenment Today. I'm Jason. In this episode I'm going to speak about spiritual materialism. I'm going to explain why people feel the need to show their so-called spirituality on the outside. This means that I'm going to put under the microscope all of your dreadlocks, tattoos, piercings and other accessories. I remember a friend of mine about 10 years ago said to me how she loved this particular place in Australia because it is spiritual. Now I know this place and it's just about as dull and mundane as many places I've been to. So I asked her what she meant by spiritual. She told me it was spiritual because a lot of people there had dreadlocks, tattoos, piercings and wore different clothes. This was a weird explanation of spirituality to me and basically an incorrect view of spirituality. Sadly, this view is what many people believe spirituality to be. There is a growing number of people who feel they are spiritual because they have dreadlocks, tattoos, or piercings. People gravitate towards teachers whose appearance is this way because people judge someone as spiritual by this appearance. Just look on YouTube at the amount of so-called spiritual teachers that have to have dreadlocks or tattoos to look the part. This is not spirituality, but rather spiritual immaturity, and basically it still is materialism. We've probably all fallen into this trap one time or another, and some sadly never awaken from this subtle materialistic state. Why do we feel the need to try and show people that we are apparently spiritual? Well, from the outset, when most of us experience something in life, we always want others to know about it. Just look at social media for proof of that fact. So in a lot of people's cases, they might have read a spiritual book, heard the teachings of a guru, or had a psychedelic experience, and then next minute they're getting tattoos, dreadlocks, piercings, and buying all sorts of accessories like bangles and necklaces to showcase their experience and the new person they are supposed to be. We've all had similar experiences where we want everyone to know about it, but a lot of the time not everybody wants to hear it. But we keep trying anyway. Getting dreadlocks, tattoos, and piercings are extreme methods to let people know who we are supposed to be. But this should not be a beat up on dreadlocks, tattoos, or piercings. They are in and of themselves innocent. The problem is in us, not our accessories. And in many cases, our new spiritual costume only covers over the psychological problems one is not willing to face so they can truly grow. This is why a lot of people cover their bodies in tattoos from head to toe. Sure, there are people who just love tattoos and can't stop getting them, but in most cases, people are running away from something psychologically that they should be dealing with. We'll do almost anything to get attention in the hope that people will accept us. This is a big problem with radical individualism, and this translates over to people's urge to look spiritual, which is odd when you consider that spirituality is really attempting to dissolve the individual back into holistic unity, back into the oneness of life. In this sense, what people believe is spiritual is still another way to cover one's psychological problems and also perpetuate the existence of our ego. We want to be accepted for our new, shiny, external spiritual costume, but again, these people are afflicted by radical individualism because materialism is what allows an individual to showcase their so-called worth over others. Actually, materialism in all its forms temporarily take people away from their problems, which is why majority of people in the world buy shit they don't need. We sadly inject our materialism into spirituality. We'll get dreadlocks or tattoos and think it's spiritual, but truthfully, you are still driven by materialism. You are still trying to look a certain way for other people. Ask yourself this: if you were in a place where no one ever laid eyes on you, would you crave to look a certain way? Of course you wouldn't, which exposes that a lot of our appearance decisions are based on what others think of us. Spirituality actually is not materialistic. It's not external, but rather internal. So this means dreadlocks, tattoos, and piercings are not essentially spiritual. That is just hippie thinking. And hippies are not essentially spiritual, even though they try hard with their dress standards. It's ironic that a hippie will fight materialism, but they are themselves still a subtle victim of materialism. You need to truly understand that spirituality is about how you are within, not about how you look. You could look very ordinary, but inside you experience the spiritual dimension at the core of our being, that pure, unstained, blissful awareness we all unknowingly and knowingly seek to realize. We can try to express that spiritual core through tattoos, but we'll fall short of the mark. And I know that a lot of people will say that their tattoos have meaning because they symbolize something spiritual to them, but this is not lasting, and that's normal. You might get a fresh tattoo that is supposed to have a deep meaning, but you will forget about it in time, and its meaning may also change or end up having no meaning to you if your perspective changes. This is somewhat natural because not paying attention to something that was once upon a time important for you to acquire is just part of adaptive psychology. Essentially, anything that is materialistic is the same. Remember that car you always wanted but you don't even appreciate anymore? This is why knowledge and wisdom are much better. They both nourish your mind and enhance your spirituality because they remain within you. They enhance your inner being and have nothing to do with how you look. And most importantly, they both lead to true lasting happiness, which can never be found in materialism. Knowledge and wisdom have this ability, but tattoos or dreadlocks don't. You can't truly symbolize that spiritual essence anyway. Besides, the great Eastern spiritual traditions have done a far better job. When I think of a symbol of the ultimate reality of the universe, I think of the Om symbol in Hinduism, the Dharma chakra used in Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, and also the yin-yang in Taoism, which are three of my favorite symbols. And you could probably add to that list the Shiva Nataraj and an image of the Buddha. These symbols have a different energy about them and are carefully designed to represent perfectly that transcendent reality immanent in our experience. But don't get any of these symbols tattooed on yourself unless you just see it for what it is. You don't need to showcase them to anyone. Just let the symbol sink into your mind to reveal the nature of the universe. Actually, you are perfectly fine just the way you are. You don't need dreadlocks, tattoos, or piercings to be spiritual. Spirituality is more about being ordinary than extraordinary. Materialism, on the other hand, is about being extraordinary. It's really about standing out. And when I think of some of the most ordinary people to have existed, I think of the Buddha, Lao Tzu, Zhuangzi, Patanjali, Shankara, Ramana Maharishi, and even Swami Sarvapriyananda in modern times. All were and are steeped in spirituality without trying to do so. It's in their presence and wisdom that they are truly spiritual, not their appearance. And that's the case for any of us. Spirituality is about being more content with your simple, humble, and pure nature at the core of your existence. How you look doesn't matter. If you understand this, then you don't need any materialistic additions to be spiritual because you are innately spiritual. You could have tattoos or have no tattoos because you are not attached either way. You are not confusing your dreadlocks with spirituality because in the end, it's only hair and it will die and decay like anything else in the material world. Spirituality is about what doesn't die, and that's your pure consciousness, which is undifferentiated, not subjective. All of your tattoos, dreadlocks, and piercings will die with the body. It's all in the material sphere. Real spirituality, on the other hand, is about seeking to know intimately that ultimate reality beyond the body.